1. Hello and good evening from a lovely Scotland. I'm not sure what it's like in France. I presume it's nice, Jay?
Yeah, it's actually pretty hot. Sitting in the room here and thinking, it's going to be a warm night.
Excellent. So, as you might have guessed, we are once again joined by Jay Thomson of Dimension Data, and tonight we are previewing the Hell of the North, Paris-Roubaix. Jay, great to have you back on. How are you?
Yeah, it's great to be back on the show. All good. Ready to go. My third Roubaix. I'm hoping not to bring in the kettle at the end like I have the last 2 years. I'd like to actually be in the race this year, but let's see what happens. And as you say, Hell of the North, it is one hell of a race. It's everything gets thrown at you, and how good you come back from the bad luck that brings out the champion at the end of tomorrow's race.
So, since we've last spoken, you've done a couple of small races. You know, you decided to go in the breakaway and get Veligum, which was fun, and then different plan in Flanders, where you even had a little tumble as well. How did you find the two races?
Yeah, against the two editions I've done again were crazy windy. So to be able to do it this year and not in such crazy conditions and actually be in the break and actually be part of the race when it came back together just before the Camel the second time, yeah, it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. A little disappointed because I wanted to get over the Camel and help, but the plan was that to go in the break and be there to be able to help if it does come before the Camel, and I've managed to be able to help Scott and Edvald and keep him in a good position before the final time up there. So I had no legs to stay with them, but they proved that they could go with the best there. Just it didn't work out in the final, but we've got the guys that can do the job. It's just something's missing for us, and it's not that the guys aren't prepared and the team isn't fighting. It's just not clicking, So it has been unfortunate for us, and Flanders was pretty much the same thing. Besides a few little problems, as you say, getting caught up in a few crashes, punches. As the Belgian races go, everybody has a problem. If you talk to somebody about Flanders, everybody has a war. Everybody has a story about where he was caught in a crash, or he broke a wheel, or he was off in the grass, or double wheel sliding, or everybody's got a story. To how their Flanders unraveled. So yeah, they're great races. They've got there's such a prestige about them, and to do them and to be able to be part of them is even better. This year, Flanders was the craziest race I've ever seen. For the race to start racing like they did, we had the easiest first 100 Ks, and then from the Oudekwaremont it just started. It was unreal, and then Gilbert did the unspeakable 68 Ks alone, or 58 Ks alone. Chapeau.
Not bad, was it?
Not so bad, yeah.
The two races, Flanders and Roubaix, can you compare them as a rider? Do they have similarities, or are they just both equally crazy?
You can't compare them. Flanders, you can compare them from the riders that can win them, can almost be the same sort of rider, but you can't compare them. The cobbles in Flanders are child's play compared to the cobbles that will destroy over tomorrow. The distance that you're going on the cobbles, the fight is the same, the craziness is the same, but it's not the same, if you know what I mean. In Roubaix, the fight is this. It's like a bunch sprint before every section of cobbles, because everybody wants to be on first because they know in 30th place you're braking, and the chances of crashing beyond that is high. So every section of cobbles, so 29 times that guys are sprinting to pretty much make sure that they keep position. So it's everybody sprints for cobbles, and then it's easy afterwards. The cobbles are the hardest part of the race. It's of course it's the hardest part, but it is really the hardest part where you have to actually put the most pressure down. You have to be the most aware and the most awake. And then on the road sections, you can't even recover and relax because you have to remember, hey, wait, there's one more K, and then I'm on the next sector, And if I'm not in the front, and if I give my wheel, you give 1 inch, you lose 20. You know, that's it. You can't give 1 inch in a race like Roubaix, where Flanders, yeah, okay, if you Sagan and these guys that are so strong, they can come from nowhere. But in Roubaix, if you're not in the front, you're always playing catch up, and to play catch up in a race like Roubaix, it doesn't happen very often that somebody can play catch up and still win.
You mentioned the sprints for almost every single sector there is. How much chatter is there in the ear from the DSs throughout this whole race? The kind of the need to get to the front. You know, is it almost a constant in your ear?
Yeah, it isn't. But you know that they're always trying to give advice. Obviously, they can see what's going on in the race and they know what's coming. They can see what the breakaway's done when they've hit the cobble. So, and you know we've got Roger Hammond and JP Hendricks in the car. So you know both. You know, we all know Roger Hammond was a legend at this race, so he knows every inch. He knows how it is in the bunch. So he's not trying to talk your ear off. He's just saying, guys, this is the moment. Now you have to be there. You know, he can tell you, but if you haven't got the legs to do it, it kind of doesn't work. That's the thing for Roubaix. You know, everybody can say, hey, I need to be in front for the Forest of Oldenburg. I have to be on the front for the Forest of Oldenburg, but if you can't sprint at 70k an hour and be in the front for that section, yeah, that's then it's pretty much over, because that's where the race starts. The race isn't won on Forest of Oldenburg, but I think it's lost.
This is the almost the end of a sequence of races, a sequence of big, tough, challenging races for a number of riders in the peloton. Yeah. Do the legs feel fatigued at this point? You know, do you feel tired?
Yeah, of course, because you know a lot of us we prepare the whole winter just for these races. You know, you spend a lot of hours preparing and thinking about cobblestones. You're thinking about the corners. You're thinking about the fights. You're thinking about the courses. So, yeah, of course, you know everything's tired because you've been training so hard. It's not that you took a break in January. Like a lot of climbers would go, okay, they'll train hard December, take a little bit of downtime after their first races in January, end of January, and then start building up again for Catalunya. Or guys will do Catalunya, take a break. You know, for us, it goes now until tomorrow, the 9th of April, and then you take a little break because, yeah, it's not really that you're physically tired, but mentally you're tired, you know, because, yeah, these races are super stressful. You always have to always be on top of it. If you're not, then what happened to me in Charlotte Place happens. You get taken out by somebody that gets a fright and slams the brakes and takes the front wheel out. And if you're not 100% awake, then you kind of end up in a bad situation where you're sliding on your butt and you didn't know what happened.
You touched on it there, Gilbert's incredible ride in Flanders. We've chatted previously about this almost like a phenomenon this year where people are attacking from further out and further out and further out. It seems that bike racing is changing. You know, the dynamics of the race, how the favourites race seems to be changing. What's your view from inside the peloton?
From inside the peloton, it's crazy. It really and truly is. You know, I've done these races now. It's my third year being in the classics. So, yeah, I can't say I'm a veteran at doing them, but the way they raced is completely different to the last 2 years. You know, just for instance, for Flanders, how fast we started going from Oude Quaremont with 160 k's to go. It's unimaginable. You can't think about it. You're like, guys are just really racing far out. And I think the biggest reason for this, put Sagan on the back foot, destroy his team. That's what the guy, you know, my honest opinion is that's why we're racing so far out. Teams are just saying, okay, we've got a super team. Quickstep are saying we've got 8 guys that are super strong. Sagan's got maybe 1 or 2 lieutenants that can stay with him. We race the race early, get rid of these lieutenants that can't do the pacing on the front, that kind of can control the race, and then Sagan can let loose with 60k to go, and that's okay. He can manage it by himself. But when he suddenly isolates with 160 k's to go, you play games with him when you've got 7 in the front group, or You might sacrifice one, maybe two guys quick step sacrifice and destroying a race, but what is that? That's nothing for them when they've got 6 more left in the final of a group of 40 or 50 guys, You saw Sky even playing in the same game, before Gerardsberg and the Muur, they went absolutely full tilt into the bottom of it. They did not let up after we went up Parkhoek, Leyburg. Ask me, I was chasing back from a broken wheel on a crash and then fetching Scott's Fates just before the Muur. We were going pretty hard to get back into the group, and once we hit there, the bunch just exploded, and you could see how it went. You guys, everybody that watched that race could see it. Just so far out, but the race was made there, and I think the reason being is guys are trying to isolate Sagan and trying to make his race harder.
So a team like your own, you've got some good riders. You don't have the strength of a Quick Step. Not many people do. Of a Sky, maybe a BMC. You've got maybe 2 big cards in Thwaites and Edvald Boasson-Hagen. So does that change the tactics that you would normally play? Would the team be keen on somebody maybe to get up the road, or do you just kind of race the same as usual?
Yeah, look, you're always an advantage when you've got somebody up the road. To get somebody in there, you have to sacrifice. It's always a bit of a win-lose situation. If you're going to have a guy up the road, it normally takes 2 or 3 guys that are going to have to help him to get into the break, because you can't just say one guy, okay, you go full gas for the break and you hope you make it. Because then you look at a race like E3 where it took 100 Ks for the break to go. 3 of us from our team were written off because, for 100 Ks you're trying to go in the break. So you have to think about it like that. Okay, do I use a guy like me that can ride, protect a guy like Edvald, make sure that everything for that first 160 Ks is hunky-dory and he gets through everything? If he has a puncher, gets a wheel takes my wheel, because, on these cobblestones you have to think about these things. So, it's all a little bit different,
And who's to say in Flanders Gilbert wouldn't have been caught? I mean, that's the other thing that we won't really know. If I was going to say, if I had to put money on it, I think it looked like he probably would have been caught, and then possibly we'd be talking about Quick Step throwing away the race. So I suppose we just have to wait and see. But last year the move went here a long way out as well.
Yeah, last year it was a bit different, I actually saw the moment the race changed because it happened on my back wheel. Somehow I was on the good side of what happened. We were on, got the book here next to me, sector, was it 22 or 21? I'm trying to say it was sector 22 that we were on, and whoever it was on my back wheel just overlapped. It was wet, he touched his brakes and down he went and blocked the whole road. I was the last guy in the front group. Tony Martin was on the front. Quick Step in the year. We've got 5 yard, let's go. Lotto Jumbo had 5, let's go. So that changed the whole dynamic of the race. When there were only maybe 20 guys that were in the front there. I eventually got spat out the back because, Tony Martin going full gas like that, and you're trying to hang on the back, it's not ideal.
You talked here about some of the sectors. Obviously, I think we've only got, is it 4 or 5-star sectors? Arnbreg Forest is where it kind of really, for the fans, it kicks off. It's the one that we love to see, the downhill ride into it, the craziness on the sides, the crashes, the fans. For yourself, is that kind of the point where it starts to get real?
For me, it's actually even earlier than that. The races, it happens on the Orenburg. That's where the real race happens. But if you're not in a good position already in the Roubaix, the Valais, the sector before, you pretty much can say that you're in trouble, because you're not going to, unless you're Superman, you don't really rectify that mistake. If you're in a bad position going into, that is sector 21, 20 to go, you're already on the back foot. That's a hard sector. It's not by any means easy. Most teams start their recon from there. They know this sector before Orenburg is not an easy sector. Yeah, it's not a 5-star, but it's not a sector that you just look past. It's 2.5 Ks long, and then you're going into hell. Forest of Orenburg, is the road to hell. That's when it just honestly just lets loose, and that's where the race starts. Last year there was a massive crash in the group I was in. That's where we were like pretty much, can say, the main peloton chasing, and that kind of blew everything apart there. But the race was already up the road. We were already all chasing. We were coming from back. So for a guy to have won Roubaix last year that was in that group, it wasn't going to really happen. Fabian and Sagan both crashed and had bad luck. But would they have got across to Brunnen, and would they have been able to beat Hyman in the final? I can't see how it was going to happen, because it was, we were probably a minute back there already, and then the crash, and then just when you're at the back, you're always chasing, and if you're chasing in Roubaix, it's just, and now this year cross tailwind the whole day. It's just going to make the race super fast. I think we're going to see one of the faster Roubaix around. Last year was, I was looking earlier actually, that it was the second fastest Roubaix in history. I think we're looking at another fast one. And last year, I think most of the time we had headwind. So
yeah,
just imagine what it will be with the tailwind.
Yeah, they've moved the start. They've actually moved the start, I think, 25 minutes forward. So gives an idea of what they're expecting.
Yeah. I think
you mentioned the recon. You obviously were out. Was it yesterday you did recon?
No, we went out on Thursday after Shelter Place. Yeah.
Thursday. So you mean you've raced here twice before? Is it always worthwhile doing the recon? Is there something there that you always just like to refresh in your brain?
You know what it is? It's perfect. It is a perfect day to do it. It's a day to go, okay, let me see what these cobblestone sections are like again. Because you forget. Us bike riders, we forget how much these cobbles hurt and how hard they actually can be. So to go and do them on Thursday, you realise these things are as rough as they were last year. Some sectors are worse than they were last year. Some are better than they were last year. They did repair a few, but even when they repair them, it's still, and it's always good to just get this refresh, see what happened over the year, what happened in the winter, what tractors moved what cobblestones. Maybe last year being on the right side of Carfordale line was good, but now this year the centre line might be better. So it's always good to get that refresh and to look at what has changed in a year, because a lot can change. Tractors are driving on those roads every day, so it's not that they don't shift. Rain happens, rain comes. Is there less rain? This year there was no rain, so there's a lot more dust, a lot more lines. I think there's more lines possible to ride on the cobbles than in previous years,
Interesting that Christoph chose not to do recon, which I think is one of the very few riders to do that, especially as you just say there. Now, a 4-star, 5-star sector, can you explain in layman's terms the difference between a 1-star, 2-star sector? How hard is that 4-5-star sector?
1-star is pretty much driving on your pavement at home. You feel that you're going over a little bit of bumps, but it doesn't really change anything. 2-star, you start to feel that you've got a little bit of bounce going along. From 3-star on, you're hitting cobbles. They're not so smooth. There are some jagged ones. You can find some lines on 3-stars that are perfect. They're easy. You're not going to feel so bad getting across them, but you're still going to hurt. Then 4-star and 5-star are just mental. They just you pick a line and you think it's a good line, and there's some protruding cobble there. But if you had chosen another line, there was something else, 2 cobbles before that. So these 4 and 5 are just I actually read something earlier saying, are cobblestones as hard as going over climbs? Maybe so, because you have to go. The slower you go on these, especially the 3, 4, and 5-stars, when you go slow, you actually go slower because you almost hit every cobble. So the faster you go, the faster you actually almost, in a way, glide over the cobble. So you bounce from cobble to cobble. So it really does help, obviously, keeping the speed. But further you get in the race, the more tired you get, the lazier you get to push the power down, and actually, eventually, you can't push the power down. And then these 3, 4, 5 stars all feel like 10-star cobblestones. They all just, relentless. They don't give up. You think to yourself, how can 2.5 Ks feel this bad? But can tell you when you hit the Carrefour de la, you have 2.1 Ks of Carrefour de la. You know all about it when you get to the end. You're just so... The best feeling is when you hit the first meter of tar after a section of cobbles. You just suddenly... It almost feels like your whole body's just like, oh.
What about tyre pressure? Do you have a particular favourite tyre pressure for this race?
Yeah, it just depends on what tyre you run, actually. That's the thing. Like each guy has a different preference, you know. Some guys are lighter, they want heavier, more pressure. Some guys are going for lower pressures. You know, I've heard of craziest things that guys are going down to 3.6 bar. Some guys riding as high as 5.5. So, you know, not to give away trade secrets or anything, but yeah, I don't like it too hard and I don't like it too soft because, yeah, obviously too soft when you start hitting the rim on the thing, it doesn't really help. And it is only 55 kilometers on the cobblestone, so you have to remember the other 202 k's that you have to pedal on the tar roads and normal roads. So if you're riding on 3 bar, that's giving you more resistance. So you're actually running, so you have to find this perfect balance. And every tyre is different. You know, from last year to this year, I'm running almost half a bar less this year than I was last year with the same company that we're running with, Continental. So it's just interesting how each tyre can be different.
I was lucky enough to get a sneaky picture of the movie star team mechanics at Tour Flanders, and on it had every rider with their tyre pressure, and it came all the way down to Bettencourt, and it just said, whatever you like.
Whatever you want.
So maybe shows an insight into Bettencourt's love of the classics in the north. Right, Boonen, obviously, last race, huge pressure.
Yes and no. I don't see it as huge pressure for him. I see it as, for him, he's done. He knows that no matter what happens now after tomorrow, it's done. So he can race literally like it's the last day of his career. And to be the guy that's racing with that much passion and knowing that this is the last time that he's going to push the pedals in anger, I can't see past him. I would give him 5 stars if I could, you know. If you had a 5-star rating, I'd put him there by himself. Because, you know, we've all seen how good he is. He's looking in immense shape. I can't see past beating him because, you know, it is his last race. Yeah, of course, Lady Luck can change his destiny, but yeah, it'll be hard to see past that.
I've got a different viewpoint. I've got him as 3. I've just put the stars up now as well. I've got him as 3 stars, like you, because it's his last race. Because I think desperate's probably the wrong word, but when somebody's down the road and there's a group of maybe 4, they'll all look at Bonin because it's his last race. So now, if that rider up the road's his teammate, then it's fine. But you know, I'm not sure. I think it's going to be very hard for him to win. But obviously, as you said, he can just ride this like a madman and just go full gas, probably from about 80k to go. The tactics that they employ will be very interesting to see if they do the same as last week and get Bonin up the road, knowing that they have Terpstra, Stibar, Trentin, Lampard. You know, they've got quality guys behind. We've changed the setup slightly. We both have a wild card pick today because I felt we'd probably have a lot of the same names. So you've gone Tony Martin. Talk me through the wild card.
No, last year was his first little go at the Hull of the North, and the Panterwagen knows how to ride across a couple of cobblestones, you know. The Germans have been through Belgium before and France. They know what they can do. So, yeah, he's got so much power and he's an incredible bike rider. So, you know, I think if he's there, I don't doubt him to go on a long-range effort and try and do something crazy and try and go on Mons or Pavel or something like that with 50k to go, you know. When everybody's thinking, okay, we're waiting for Carrefour de la, he's decided something different, you know, with 50k to go. So, you know, for me, Tony Martin is somebody that everybody talks about, knows how strong he is, knows if you give him a meter, you're not going to see him again. Well, he could show with, Christoph not really firing like he has in previous years. He could show something different,
As long as he doesn't crash, which he's had a terrible habit of doing this season so far.
Unfortunately, that's part of bike racing, and when it starts following you, it's hard to shake her, and then it sits in the back of your mind. That's the problem with crashes. It's she's a beast. She chases you.
My wildcard pick is Stein Vandenberg, the man mountain. Form hasn't been brilliant. He's crashed as well. I think it was maybe E3 he crashed in. Nason has been taking all the headlines from AG2R quite rightly because he's been phenomenal this season. But this is a race for a big man. A big powerhouse who can. You mentioned it's not the same as Flanders. We don't have climbs, so to carry, he probably carries an extra 10 kilograms compared to some riders. Will serve him well here. 1-star riders, you've gone Van Baal, who has gone very well recently, Christoph and Nason. Christoph, you touched on their form is not what we've maybe seen in previous years, and he doesn't have a great record in this race.
No, he doesn't, but he's got a lot of grunt. He's got a lot of fight in him. He's Norwegian. They're as hard as they come. So for me, he's somebody that you can't cover. I sat and I looked at that list, and I looked at the list, and I thought, who stands out here that that could possibly upset the apple cart? Who could get in the way of Quick Step's parade for Boonen, or who could do it? He's just somebody that's there. I put Nielsen as a 1-star just out of respect of the way he's been riding. Will he be there in the final? I don't know. He's been climbing really good on the cobbled climbs. Will he be able to do the flat road climbs? Will he be able to go with the big boys when they really lay down the 700 watts that some of these guys do for 1-2 minutes across these cobblestone sections? It's a different thing when you're going up a climb. It is a different style of riding, but cobbles are cobbles, but Roubaix cobbles, they're a different beast.
And Van Baal, he really flies under the radar of most people. Quiet, unassuming rider who just top 10, top 10, top 10.
Yeah, that's why I've got him there. I think he'll be somebody that'll be there in the final. I wouldn't discount him. He will be there. Unless something comes against him. I think he's on the same thing as Nielsen. They deserve the respect, and they've earned it this season in the way they've been riding the classic so far. So, it is a hard choice, Roubaix, because a lot has to do with it. You can have 0 results walking into Roubaix and pull it out of the hat because Lady Luck was perfect to you, and you never had one problem. You missed the crashes when the crashes took other favourites out, or you didn't punch her, or you got a gap when there wasn't a gap. All those small little things play towards what can get. And a guy like Dylan, I think I can see him doing something like that.
I've been controversial. I've got Degenkolb at 1-star, and I know you have him as 3 stars. Former winner, former second place. For me, his form just isn't quite there. This is a different race altogether. But for me, he's down in the 1-star section just because of form. Due to form, I've also got Turbo Durbo. If there has been a rider of the season so far away from the guys who are winning the races, Durbridge has to be up there as one of the most improved riders. Really strong this season, has been nailing big results. I think this race should suit him more than some of the others.
I think it'll suit him more than any other race he's done this season.
Yeah.
So, I actually might have overlooked that.
And I've also got Nason in there. The Flanders crash, how is it going to affect? Sagan and Nason both almost crawled over the line. Both of them raced Shell de Prix. Sagan was apparently hobbling around beforehand. Nason was kind enough to send me a picture of his knee this morning. It is not nice. It's all bruised. It's swollen. It's all kind of gone yellow. If you're going to race any race with a sore knee, this really isn't the one for you, I don't think. So he says there is no pain when he's on his bike, which is a good thing. And he's been having ibuprofen for his breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which is going to help a wee bit. But it's I'm worried for him that the crash might affect him, which is a shame because he has been outstanding this season. 2 stars, you've gone for Stannard, teammate Edvald, and Greg Van Avermaet. Tell me about Edvald.
I think we all know Edvald. Edvald, I've been backing him all season, and I'm going to carry on backing him. I think, he was there on the Camel on Gent-Wevelgem. He was in the front 12. He was there. He was part of that, and probably one of the better looking of the 12 guys in the front. Things didn't really go perfectly fine there. The wheels fell off, but he had what it took to pretty much win Gent-Wevelgem, I think. He was in the right position. He was one of the better guys there. He's under the radar. Everybody wasn't watching him. But yeah, unfortunately, it didn't fall that way. Flanders, a bad time puncher, I can tell you, because I had to bring him back, and it was not so easy. I had to bring him back, so it's not so easy for him either. Getting caught out in crashes, not really was in a good position on the requirement. I think he just missed something, and I don't know if it was because of what happened at Gent-Wevelgem or if it was, something else that he was just missing that last little. You can't even say it was a percent, because it's not a percent that makes a difference at this level anymore. When the top guys are racing, it's 0.1% that's making the difference between winning and finishing in 20th place. So, I think Edward's somebody he's hungry as well. Nobody's backing him. He's under the radar. He's as strong as an ox. He's Norwegian. He's going to fight all the way to the line. It's the last classic of the season. He wants to prove that he is a classic rider. I think we'd be stupid not to back him. And myself, I believe he's got what it takes to win.
And he has the body shape that you would imagine would suit this race more. We just mentioned Durbridge, how being a bit heavier definitely suits a Flanders, a Paris-Roubaix rider. Edvald, and big guy, went well here last year. You would imagine this race suits him more than some of the others.
Yeah, I think Roubaix definitely suits Edvald a lot, 100 times more than Flanders actually does. He's good at Flanders just because he's super strong. But I think Roubaix, he's got what it takes to ride these cobbles. He knows how to ride them. He's a good bike rider. He knows how to do it, and he knows when to do it. So if he's in the right position at the right moment when it counts, I think with Scott and Bernie Eisel, they're going to be there long in the race. I think with the leadership of Bernie, I think he can't do anything wrong.
Ed, have you seen the clip back yet of Eisel just resting his bike against a shop, thinking Flanders? He came down and he just placed his bike, and then half an hour later he's back at the front of the race.
Yeah, he was impressive.
We both got Stannard, for obvious reasons, very strong here before, big rider. You've got Van Avermaet in at 2 stars. Why only 2?
He's small.
And as we've mentioned,
are always big guys. We mentioned the weight. You look at all the guys I've got him for 4 stars. Stannard, Edvald, they're all big guys. So for him to even be in a 2-star, I think it's even that we've given him a lot. I've given him a lot because I think it's. But he's good. He showed after crashing on the requirement that he's got a grunt in him. He's fighting. He's strong. He's had an incredible run since Tour de France last year. So he wants to finish off on a high too.
I've got Terpstra again in the big, strong category there for a 2-star rider. 3 stars, we've both got Bonin, we've both got Sagan, you've got Degenkolb, and I have the small Van Avermaet. Sagan, do you think he's going to be affected by this crash, or you saw him in Shelby?
Yeah, I saw him in Shelby. He still looked pretty mean, little mean machine. It's hard to tell. It just depends on how this race is going to get raced. I think if Quick-Step do what they've done in the last race and put him on his back foot with no team, he's not going to be in the easiest place to win. But you can never discount him. Would he have won last week if he didn't crash? I think he had a really, 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 really good chance. I take nothing away from Roubaix. He did an incredible ride and he deserved 100% the victory. But, Sagan looked pretty phenomenal going up the Eau de Quaramont the last time round.
And you've got Degenkolb. He's won here before, second here before.
Fifth in Flanders, I think. Fifth or sixth. Did he win the bunch sprint?
No, he didn't. There was a couple back. I think Christoph won the bunch sprint.
Okay, Christoph won the bunch sprint. Okay, yeah.
You're changing your mind now?
I think I'll stick with him there, but I think he's got it. He's strong. He needs to prove that he's back from his crash that almost took his hand away. Yeah, I think it's a hard race to predict an outright winners, but for me, the two that I do have is Boonen and Sagan. I can say I'm 100% confident that they can do it.
I'll counter your Van Avermaet argument. So, first in Omloop, E3, Gent-Wevelgem, second in Strada and Flanders, Olympic champion. I agree he's smaller, and I think he's even on record as to say this is not his favourite race, but I think the time is right for him to win his first monument. And sometimes you can't choose. You just have to go for the one that's there.
Exactly.
Who's your pick? Who's going to walk away as the champion tomorrow?
I'm going to give it to Boonen. I'm going to say him.
Fairy tales.
I want to say Bob Boston, but I'll say Boonen.
Okay, I've just said it there. I think Van Avermaet's going to win his first monument. We shall wait and see. Well, Jay, thank you very much for taking time out tonight. Big race tomorrow. I hope it goes well for you.
Thanks.
And we'll just let everybody know that you are going to be riding tomorrow with a rib injury as well, which is going to make it even nicer for you.
It should feel pretty nice along the bouncy roads.
Well, if anybody's en route tomorrow, feel free to give Jay some encouraging shouts. Jay, thank you very much.
Thanks very much, David.